let's turn from current conflicts to those who have served in conflicts. Senator Rubio, according to a VA study, of the 22 veterans who commit suicide every day, 17 of them have no connection to the VA. The VA believes that this lack of connection is one of the reasons for this tragically high suicide rate. What specifically would you do as president to make sure that veterans in crisis are able to get the help they need?
Well, first, let me say that 1 out of 4 calls to our office these days is about a veteran here in Florida that's struggling with a VA. My brother's a veteran. He's struggling with a VA. The other day, we heard this horrible story. It was a headline in the USA Today, and it said, "Calls to the VA suicide hotline went to voicemail." Well, about a few days ago, we now found out that one of the gentlemen, one of the veterans who left a voicemail, committed suicide. And they happened to call him back the day after he died. People need to be held accountable for this. One of the things I'm proudest of is that in my time in the U.S. Senate, working with Jeff Miller here from Florida, in a bipartisan way, and I'll give him credit, Bernie Sanders was a part of this, we passed the VA accountability bill. And what it did is it created now a law that gives the VA secretary, because of the law I passed, it gives the VA secretary the power to fire people that aren't doing a good job. Senior executives should be held accountable if the VA outreach isn't working. The problem is no one's being held accountable. Even after we passed that law, no one's been fired for no outreach. No one's been fired for calls going to the voicemail. No one's been disciplined. No one's been demoted. When I'm president of the United States, if you work at the VA and you are not doing a good job, you will be fired from your job at the VA.
Governor Kasich, the Veterans Affairs Department is one of the biggest line items in the domestic budget. As part of its attempt to cut costs, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives just voted to try to reduce spending in the post-9/11 GI Bill. Should veterans' benefits be part of attempts to reduce the deficit?
I haven't seen the provisions of that bill, Jake. My initial instincts are no. And let me just say about the VA, when a veteran comes home, they ought to have access to health care wherever they want to go at any time, number one. Number two, the Veterans Administration needs to be restructured. It needs to be downsized and spread out. It needs to be so responsive to the needs of the veterans. And secondly, the Pentagon needs to share the information of returning veterans with the veteran service operations in the states and with the job people in the states so that when a veteran comes home, they can be linked with a job. And when that happens, that means that every veteran will get work because they're our golden employees. No veteran ought to be without health care, no veteran ought to be homeless, and no veteran ought to be unemployed in the United States of America.
Thank you, Governor Kasich.